I stumbled onto the patio armed with a club. Those pesky dogs were rummaging through my trash again, knocking over the dumpster and waking me up. It was the third time this week, and I'd had enough. Why couldn't people keep their dogs at home? Though I knew they were just hungry, my annoyance lingered. Quietly unlatching the back gate, I approached the trash bins to confront them. Two figures stood beside the toppled container. As I swung the gate open, they spotted me and pleaded for mercy, explaining they were just hungry kids. Surprised, I brought them into the backyard under the security lights. They were ragged and dirty, dressed in oversized clothes and baseball caps, shivering in the chilly air. "Did you tip over my trash?" I demanded. One confessed, promising they wouldn't do it again. Not satisfied, I led them inside, directing them to the bathroom and instructing them not to come out until I said so. Gathering some clean clothes and towels, I returned to find them attempting to escape through the window. Surprised to realize they were girls, I urged them into the shower, providing soap and shampoo. After a brief exchange, I left them to clean up and headed to the kitchen. Sorting through the fridge, I prepared plates of cold fried chicken, potato salad, veggies with sauce, pastrami sandwiches, pickles, and chips. Setting the table for their meal would make for a pretty good dinner, I mused. I hoped they'd enjoy the monster cheese, mayo, and mustard on their sandwiches. The bathroom door opened quietly, and a whisper drifted to the kitchen. A minute later, two of the most stunning girls I'd ever seen entered. With long, dark black hair, olive skin, and the greenest eyes, slightly almond-shaped, high cheekbones, and the cutest little noses, they were a sight to behold. They seemed to be in their teens, maybe 11 or 12. It was amusing to see them in Brianna's clothes. She's tall, and they were tiny, with sleeves and trouser legs rolled up. They resembled tramps. "Take a seat," I offered. "Want cola, juice, milk?" They both opted for milk. "I'm McKay North," I introduced myself, pouring milk. "Who are you?" "I'm Maggie," said the taller one, short for Margaret. "This is Stokely. Can we really finish it all?" "Have more if you want," I said. "I'll cook in the morning, but not at 2 a.m. "No, that's fine. Thanks," Stokely replied. Maggie eyed me suspiciously. "What do you want from us? We're not up to anything." I chuckled. "Same here. If you're after my virtue, you'll be disappointed." They didn't quite grasp my humor. "I'm not interested in little girls," I clarified. They weren't fans of the label, but they started eating voraciously. "Slow down," I advised. "The chickens are dead, and the potatoes were never fast runners. You'll get a stomachache." They chuckled, eating more moderately. "Where do you live?" I asked. "There's an empty house down the block," Maggie explained. "We found a mattress and something to cover up with, but we're worried about Hoffeds moving in once they realize it's vacant." "Want a warm bed tonight?" I offered. They eyed me skeptically. "Not mine," I clarified. "I've got 3 spare bedrooms." "Well, technically mine too, but you get the idea." They chuckled nervously. "We got no money," Stokely admitted. "We can't pay." "I'm not asking for payment," I reassured. "Why are you doing this?" she queried. "Why be so kind?" "Mac. Call me Mac," I corrected. "Everyone does." "I'm just a good guy, not trying to be cute," I explained. "Ask my mom." This brought smiles. I liked it. I decided to make it a regular thing. "I'd want someone to be kind to me if I were in your shoes," I mentioned. They seemed to mull it over. "Can I snag some of these chips?" Stokely inquired. I passed her the bag, and they both reached in while munching on their sandwiches. I finished mine, and they seemed eager for more. I poured another glass of milk for each of them, and they drank it down. I was amazed as they polished off their plates and devoured all the vegetables down to the last crumb. They must have been famished. "Time for bed," I informed them. "You each have your own bathroom. Toothbrushes, combs, and such are in there. There's aspirin, stomach medicine, toothpaste, and floss in the first aid kits. If you need anything else, just ask." "Can we lock the doors?" Maggie asked. "Sure, but if I need you to, you'll have to unlock them promptly," I explained. They eyed me oddly. A realization dawned in Maggie's vivid green eyes. "He's worried we'll swipe something," she explained to her sister. "We won't, Mac. It's okay if you don't fully trust us. We're not entirely trusting you either." I chuckled. "Fair enough. Mutual distrust it is. Soon enough, you'll find you can trust me. I hardly ever injure pretty girls," I quipped, eliciting another pair of radiant smiles. I think they appreciated the pretty part. They followed me to their rooms, and I heard the locks click as I returned to bed. I lay awake for a while, pondering what led these girls to this situation. Why were they rummaging through my trash? Why were they alone? Where was their family? I resolved to get some answers in the morning. As I dressed, I heard the floor creaking in the hallway. Opening the door a crack, I spotted them creeping into the living room, thinking they might be planning to leave. I opened the door wider. They froze. "Girls, ready for breakfast?" I asked. They exchanged glances. "Maybe we should just go," Maggie suggested. "You're not going to lock us up or anything, are you?" "You mean make you stay?" I clarified. They glanced at each other again, then back at me, nodding. "No, I won't force you to do anything," I assured. "It's against my principles to compel anyone, but I'd like you to join me for breakfast." They exchanged another look. "Will you let us leave after?" Stokely asked. "If that's what you want," I replied. "Actually, I was hoping you'd spend the day with me, but if you have somewhere else to be, that's fine." "Yeah, we have to meet our stockbroker," Maggie grinned, her eyes lighting up. "What are you making us?" "Actually, what are you making us? Are you an English teacher or something?" Maggie teased. "As a matter of fact, yes," I confirmed. "I teach English Lit at the university." "Cool," Stokely remarked. "We don't go to school. Too busy." "But you're having breakfast now, aren't you?" I pointed out. "I was thinking waffles with bacon. Do you like that?" They did, so we headed in, and they fetched the waffle iron while I prepared the batter. They made the waffles while I fried up 2 pounds of bacon. I'm a bit of a syrup snob. "And I'm a coffee snob," Maggie added. I had Maggie take charge of the bacon while I ground the coffee beans and fired up the coffee maker. It all came together quite nicely, and we enjoyed real maple syrup with our waffles. They irked me by asking for coffee creamer. "I'm saving some for the barbarians and Brianna who love the vanilla cake," I quipped. We devoured all the bacon, and they each polished off 3 waffles. "Stick with me, girls, and in a week you'll be as plump as toads," I joked. They both chuckled, and it was the most delightful sound. Then they guzzled down their milk like hungry calves. My pantry definitely needed restocking. "So tell me about Maggie and Stokely," I prompted. "What's your story? Why resort to digging through trash for food?" We took our coffee into the living room, and they shared a heartbreaking tale. Their father, once a car mechanic, sank into hard drinks and misuse post-unemployment, leaving their lives when they were young. Their mother divorced him, and they lost contact. In a battered Detroit economy, job prospects were slim. Their mother drove a cab, but tragedy struck when she picked up a passenger who fatally stabbed her for her meager earnings. Left to die, they ended up in foster care, enduring molestation from the homeowner before fleeing to live on the streets for 3 months. With the surname Steele, they feared the elements, violence, and hunger, struggling to survive day by day. As they recounted their ordeal, I sat in silence, heart heavy with empathy. How many others faced similar fates? It dawned on me that this was a more prevalent struggle than I'd realized. Could I help them? The idea seemed daunting. As a single man, taking in 2 young girls might raise eyebrows and bureaucratic hurdles. They interrupted my thoughts. "Mac, are you married?" Stokely inquired. "I was," I admitted. "My ex thought I lacked ambition. She's a high-flying lawyer, worldly and all. Marriage didn't fit into her picture." "What an idiot," Maggie chimed in. I chuckled. "She's actually a good person. No cheating or anything. We're still close friends." We both realized we were too young and naive. "How old are you?" Stokely asked. "I'm 28, I replied. "And you?" "I'm 11, and she's 13, Stokely responded. "What's on the agenda today?" "Well, we're going to chat," I started, "and I'll introduce you to someone." Opening the garage door, a furry blur dashed in. Spotting our guest, he bounded over, leaping onto the sofa and nuzzling into their laps, his big pink tongue lavishing affection. "Meet Granville," I introduced. "I affectionately call him Grandma." They erupted into fits of giggles as he showered them with licks. Weighing in at about 130 pounds, he was immovable. I'm certain he outweighed them both. "Lie down, Grandma," I commanded, and he reluctantly obeyed, sprawling across their laps. "He's massive," Stokely chuckled, running her hand over his head. "What kind of dog is he?" "He looks like a striped tiger." "He's a bull mastiff," I explained. "The pattern is called brindle, which gives him that color." "He looks like he could snap our faces off," Maggie observed. "Yeah, he could, but he won't. He's friendly with my pals. He sees you chilling in our house, being friendly, and that's why he adores you. If he were hostile towards me, He'd be on high alert and very defensive. Now that he knows you, he won't tolerate anyone being hostile towards you. If I raise my voice at you, he won't like it. He cares deeply for those he loves." Stokely hopped down and draped herself over him, embracing his neck as he licked her hand. "I adore him," she declared. "He's so wrinkly and cute. Does he stay in the garage?" "No, he's an indoor dog," I clarified. "Yesterday he got sick, so I put him outside to avoid making a mess in the house." "Why was he sick?" Stokely inquired. "He eats things he shouldn't, like sticks, bugs, and who knows what else. But he seems fine now." "Gross," Maggie remarked. He licked my face. "Yeah, he's adorable," I admitted. "He's my buddy, so I just deal with it. And he'll be your buddy too if you let him." "We should take him for a walk," Maggie suggested. I grabbed his leash, and Maggie insisted on leading him, but it's more like he leads whoever's holding the leash, so she stayed a few yards ahead of Stokely and me, getting dragged along. Stokely slipped her little hand into mine. I glanced down at her, and she smiled up at me. Man, she was beautiful. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Absolutely, sweetheart," I assured her. I enjoy holding hands with pretty girls. She blushed faintly, but didn't let go. We walked for a couple of miles, and by the time we returned, Grandma was panting and drooling despite the cold. He soldiered on. We sipped more coffee and chatted all day. Finally, I broached the subject of helping them. "What can you do?" Maggie inquired skeptically. "Honestly, Maggie, I'm not entirely sure," I admitted. "I mentioned I could speak to Brianna. She's a lawyer of a different kind. Maybe she'll have some ideas." "Is this the same woman?" Maggie asked. "Maggie? She's not that," I corrected. "Stop calling her that. Do you trust me?" They glanced at each other before nodding. "Yeah, I guess," Stokely replied. "You've been really nice to us." "Well, let's give her a call and see if she can make it," I suggested. "You'll like her. Just give her a chance." Brianna, busy but agreeable, joined us for dinner. Bri, a tall, stunning redhead, was gorgeous but had never realized it. I described her, and I could see the girls were impressed when she arrived. She greeted me with a passionate kiss and embraced both girls. "You've replaced me," she teased the girls. "No, Breezy, you're irreplaceable. You know that," I joked back. She seemed genuinely pleased. I assured the girls that we were still friends, which we were friends with benefits. We still shared great closeness together, sometimes, once a week or more, with fervent lovemaking during her week-long stays. She simply didn't have time for a husband, and I doubted she'd ever marry again. We cared for each other, but marriage wasn't in the cards for us. As lovers, we got along great, but as spouses, we argued incessantly. "So, who are your new friends?" she inquired, smiling at them and leaving them starstruck. "I'm Maggie, and she's Stokely," Maggie introduced. "Nice to meet you," Bri greeted them. "You know this guy is dangerous, right?" "Not to us," Stokely remarked. "I think he could be dangerous to someone he's enemies with. He has a club and a very large dog." Bri nudged Grandma with her boot, and he grunted in protest. "Hey, big guy," she knelt down and embraced him. "Do you miss me?" He rolled his eyes, but lacked the energy to lift his head. "What's on your mind, Mac?" she asked. "Why did you want to talk to me? Not that I mind being invited to dinner. He's a fantastic cook. Girls, if you can motivate him." I think he cooked lamb chops. "We've never had anything like this," Maggie remarked. "Well then, I'm in for a treat." "But what's the occasion?" she pressed. We had dinner, and I explained. "We need your help, Breezy," I informed her. "We're clueless about legal matters. The girls are orphans. Well, their father might be alive, but no one knows where he is. He abandoned them, and their mother was killed. They were in foster care, and some creep started intimidating them. They ran away and are living on the streets. They were rummaging through my trash for food, and I caught them. Now we're trying to figure out a way to keep them off the streets." She studied me for a moment. "You want them, don't you? Goodness, Mac, you've always wanted children, and because I didn't give you any, you want them, don't you?" I blushed. "Yes, I do. I kind of do. What do you think is the best approach, Bri?" "I don't think it's feasible," she responded. "No family court will give you 2 young girls. You're a solitary man. This is a recipe for disaster. They won't approve it." I glanced at the girls, who stared back at me with wide eyes. "What's wrong?" I inquired. Their gazes met before they broke into tears and rushed to hug me. "You really want to keep us with you," Stokely choked out between sobs. "I can't believe it. I never thought we'd find anyone. Anyone, she struggled to speak through her tears. I held him close. Yes, girls, I did consider it. You need someone to care for you. I need someone too. I thought maybe we could do it together. Their small bodies trembled as they clung to me. I looked helplessly at Bri as tears streaked down her cheeks. She glanced between the girls and me. Darn it, Mac, look at what you've done to me. Just when I think I've got you figured out. You surprise me. What am I going to do with you? There was a peculiar expression on her face as if she were seeing me in a new light. Let me think about this for a few days. Girls, you're coming with me. It wouldn't work if you stayed here with Mac. It would ruin everything if anyone found out. Mac, we're taking Grandma with us. I can't leave him here, and I'll have to take care of them. She swept out of the house like a whirlwind, carrying Grandma with her, and drove off in her Mercedes. I'll call you, she promised. She called 3 times for about 30 seconds each over the next 2 weeks. I didn't see her or the girls until she phoned me Friday morning, saying she wanted to meet for dinner at Alfonso's, a charming Italian restaurant in Pontiac where we often dined. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting at the bar with men circling around her. As soon as she spotted me, she left them gaping and came over to me. We walked to our booth. She nudged me and sat beside me, which was unusual, as she typically sat across from me, indicating something was different. We placed our orders, and she remained silent for a while. You know I love you, right, Mac? She finally began. Yes, I love you too, I replied. I don't mean I love you like your mom or anything like that. I'm in love with you, Mac. I always have been, since that day at Cedar Point. You're the only man I've ever loved or will ever love, she confessed. I trust you completely. I love everything about you except being married to you. You know me. I like my freedom. No commitments, no baggage, nothing tying me down. I love my job and my life, but I don't love them any more than I love you. And I don't have to choose. You're as faithful as Grandma. We understand each other. I'm not physically engaged with anyone but you. I've never felt this way before. You've always understood me. That's why what I'm about to propose will sound incredibly strange. Oh, I chuckled. Sounds like I'm in for a surprise. She shot me a you fool look. Yes, you are. Will you marry me, Mac? I nearly choked on my wine. Choking on wine isn't ideal. When I regained my composure, I sat there dumbfounded. Stop playing around and give me an answer, she snapped. Absolutely not, I finally managed. Why, Bri? We'll just make each other miserable. We'll be at each other's throats in a month. What's wrong with what we have now? Nothing, she agreed. This isn't about us. It's about the sweetest, most adorable girls on the planet, Mac. I'm head over heels in love with them. You turned my world upside down when you invited me over that night. They're desperate to see you. They cry and beg me every night to come and see you. The problem is, I won't give them up. I've never had as much fun and joy in my life as I have with them. None of us have a stable home life. No judge in their right mind would give them to any of us, but if we were married, they'd grant us custody in a heartbeat. So I need them, and I'll have to take you as part of the deal. If you want them, you'll have to put up with me. Can we make this work, Mac? I doubt it, I told her. You're as troublesome as me. You come home drunk. You're always late for everything except work, and sometimes you don't come home at all or even call. Come on, right, we've already been down that road. I sighed. Yeah, I know. But what if things could be different this time, she pleaded. I can't wait to get back home tonight. I always let them know if I'm running late, and ever since they came into my life, I've only been having 1 glass of wine each night. I never imagined I could feel this way. Marry me, Mac. Give us a chance, she implored. I think there's something we need to discuss, I interjected. Go ahead. What's on your mind? Are we just going to talk in circles here? Tell me what's on your mind. Do you want me to start? I took a long sip of my drink and motioned for another glass of wine from the waiter. Go ahead, I encouraged her. What drives me crazy about you is your need to control everything, she declared. You want to know every detail of my life, where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing, when I'll be home. It's like you're paranoid. If you could just let go and allow me to be myself, maybe we'd still be together, but you'll never be able to do that. It's maddening. Surely you know by now that you're the only person I've ever been interested in. You do know that, right, Mac? Yeah, probably, I admitted. It used to get under my skin. I was afraid you'd find someone else and leave me. That's never going to happen, she assured me. I haven't even thought about another person since the day I met you. Sure, I go out to dinners with clients and colleagues. I hit the dance floor with groups, both men and women. I'm having fun. That's just who I am. But since meeting you, no one has ever come close to touching me lovingly, and they never will. Do you believe me? Yes, I do. It's the same for me. I trust you, Bri. I know you'd never do anything to hurt me. You're just so carefree and independent. I'm as in love with you as I was on our wedding day. I think you feel the same about me, and we were comfortable where we were, I acknowledged. Well, I'm not comfortable with that anymore, she stated firmly. There are two girls who need a family. I love them nearly as much as I love you. I love them more than my job. I want to be a part of their lives, and I can see that can only happen if we do it together. So will you give me a chance, Mac? Will you marry me and try to love me so we can have this family together? I'll never have children of my own. I'm too vain and selfish for that. But we can take these girls. Marry me, Mac, and I'll do everything I can to make you incredibly happy. Okay, clearly you've had time to think about this, I acquiesced. Give me some time too, okay? She glanced at her watch. You've got 20 minutes, she informed me. Oh, great. So now there's a deadline, I quipped. Yes, they'll be waiting outside in 20 minutes, she confirmed. They should arrive in 10 minutes. They'll walk with Grandma for about 10 minutes. Then a car will pick us up to take us to your place. We wrapped up our mail quickly and stepped outside. A limo was waiting, but the girls were still absent. The driver mentioned they were out with a dog, not seeming too pleased about it, perhaps due to potential drool on the upholstery. After a short wait, I spotted them hurrying towards us. Let go, Maggie urged as they neared. There's a sketchy guy eyeing us. Grandma's not a fan. Glancing down the sidewalk, I noticed a young man approaching. He looked about 20, adorned with tattoos and piercings, his attire giving off a wannabe tough guy vibe. What's your deal? He snapped at me. Nothing. We're leaving, I replied. Looks like everything's yours, a fancy jacket, lovely ladies, and a big ride, he remarked. Seems like you're flush with cash. The guy was out of his mind. I towered over him by 8 inches and outweighed him by at least 100 pounds, not to mention lacking his protruding gut. You best be moving along, Betty, I warned. My dog here is not fond of you. Closing in about 40, he retorted. I ain't scared of no dog. His hand reached under his jacket to his waistband, revealing a glint of metal. Without hesitation, I delivered a swift kick to his chest, sending him sprawling backward. A weapon tumbled from his waistband to the ground. Startled, Maggie dropped Grandma's leash. As he lunged, the guy shielded his face as Grandma clamped down on his forearm, eliciting a pained yelp and a torn sleeve from his hooded sweatshirt. Up, Granville, I commanded, and he obediently resumed his place beside me. The assailant wet on the ground, and I approached Grandma at my side. Go ahead, Grandma, I instructed. Lunging forward, Grandma's massive jaws closed around the man's neck, freezing him in terror. You're a real piece of work, I spat at him. Got a few screws loose. His head nodded ever so slightly, terror etched on his face. Say it, I demanded. Silence ensued. Bite, Grandma, I urged. A muffled scream escaped him as blood trickled down his neck, Grandma's powerful jaws sinking into his flesh. The rhythmic sound of snorting breaths filled the air. Say it, I pressed. I'm a piece of work, he choked out. How much cash are you carrying? I interrogated. Handing it over reluctantly, he reached into his pocket, prompting Grandma to tighten his grip. Slowly, I cautioned. When he turned over, he produced a bundle and passed it to me. Release him, Grandma, I ordered. Reluctantly, he obeyed, and the man hastily backed away. I'll give you a 20-yard head start, I warned. After that, he's coming for you. I suggest you make tracks with the speed of a sprinter. He darted off, but his pants slid down, causing him to stumble. Hastily readjusting, he fled, clutching his trousers with his uninjured hand. I yelled out, You need a belt. Turning to the girls, I found all 3 of them frozen in astonishment. Swiftly, I kicked the weapon into the storm drain. What's wrong? I asked. Bri was the first to react. You're one tough cookie, Mac. Note to self, never get on your bad side. The girls rushed over to me, and I embraced them. Oh my God, murmured Stokely into my chest. I was scared of that guy, but you handled it like a boss. Thank you. You did this for us, didn't you? Well, no one messes with my girls, I reassured her. He left you a little something for your college fund, handing her the bundle. She counted it. Total $700. He must have robbed it from a few more unsuspecting folks. Later, she split it with Maggie, and we piled into the car. Glancing back, I hugged Maggie and noticed something. A van is pulling up, I remarked. I know, Bri confirmed. It's got some of our stuff. I arched an eyebrow at her. Yeah, I'm aware I tend to take a lot for granted, she chuckled. Girls, Mac addressed them as we walked to the van. We tie the knot again and keep you with us. They gasped and squealed. Really? Maggie turned to Mac. She's not so bad after all. You were right. We adore Bri. She's been so good to us. We've got heaps of new clothes, and she got us into this amazing school. We'll make you proud. Promise we won't let you down. We know you won't, honey, Bri reassured them. Don't sweat it, she added. I was somewhat stunned. I tried to speak, but the words eluded me. You okay, Mac? Stokely inquired. Bri chuckled. He's not. He goes into full-on panic mode. His perfectly ordered world is turned upside down. His house is always immaculate, everything in pristine condition. We'll have our underwear hanging in his shower, mix up his books, leave rings on the coffee table. It'll drive him nuts. I honestly don't know how he'll cope with Granville, Maggie added. We'll have to love him so much that crumbs on the table won't bother him. Can we handle that? I groaned. I never agreed to any of this, I said. Bri, like a hurricane, sweeps us off our feet and turns everything topsy-turvy. Do you love Bri? Stokely asked me. Yes, but from across town I tried to clarify. But we all need to be together, Maggie chimed in. They all burst into laughter at this, and I couldn't help but join in. It was all so absurd. How did things spiral out of control like this? As usual, Brianna had managed to turn my little mission to help some girls into a full-blown marriage and adoption plan. Small actions can really throw your life off course. I mused. This is a harebrained scheme, I told Bri as we arrived at my house. There was a flurry of activity as movers carried in heaps of belongings and distributed them to various rooms. To my surprise, stacks of women's clothing kept appearing in Maggie's and Stokely's rooms, one after the other. Where'd you girls get all this? I asked Maggie as she hurried past. Bri took us shopping a few times, she said, vanishing into her room. Bri stuck her head out of my room. Gosh, Mac, do you ever get rid of anything? You still have stuff from when we got married. I'm tossing this. I need drawer and closet space. I rushed to rescue my school jacket with letters from the trash heap. Cut it out, Brianna, I shouted. These things can't be thrown away. If I didn't want it, I wouldn't have it. This is my home, and I'll boot your skinny rear out if you don't quit. She shot me a fierce look. Skinny rear, huh? She snickered, grabbing me by the sleeve of my jacket. She pulled me into the bedroom, which looked like a tornado had hit it. In one swift move, she locked the door, slipped off her dress, and leaned over, placing her hands on the bed. It took my breath away. She wasn't wearing any underwear. The next morning, we made love. I slept until 10 o'clock and then stumbled into the shower. By the time I shaved and showered, I started feeling somewhat human. Bri was still asleep, her flame-colored hair spilling over her face as she lay on her stomach. God, her backside was incredible. I headed to the living room, where Grandma was snoring, drooling over a stack of my best shirts. I sighed, grabbing a glass of orange juice and a bun. Come on, Grandma, let's get out of this mess. He lifted his head, rolled his eyes, and got up with a groan. We went out to the backyard, where he did his business and then came over to lie on my legs, basking in the sun. I felt as lazy as a fat lizard. It was an unusually warm day for this time of year. The door opened, and Stokely stepped out with a glass of milk and a bun. Hi, Angel, I waved. Hey, Mac, she closed the door. Standing for a moment, she then made her way to the glider where I was sitting. Is there enough space for me? She asked. I shifted over, and she settled onto my lap, resting her feet in the space I made, curling up with a sigh. She took a bite of the bun, her big green eyes locked onto mine. Mac, she began, crumbs scattering across our laps. I interrupted. Eat first, then talk. She giggled but stayed silent until her mouth was empty. Mac, she resumed, if you adopt us, will you be our dad and Bri our mom? Would you want that? I asked. Oh, yes, she said. Bri would be the coolest mom ever. You might not be cool, but you're dependable. I love you, and I think you'd make the best dad. I was nearly speechless. Well, I mumbled, being dependable is good, even if it's not cool. She chuckled. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, she's like a whirlwind, and you're like a mountain. You know, she really, really loves you. She talks about you all the time. She's told us everything about you and her. Do you love her? Yes, dear. But as you said, she's a whirlwind. It's like trying to love a thunderstorm or a forest fire. Mountains don't mind thunderstorms or forest fires, I said. Maggie kind of resembles her. I'm more like you. She nestled against my chest. I think if we wanted to, we could just let them whirl around us, and we'd be the calm in the center of their storm, she said, looking at me. I want you to be our dad, Mac. I never thought we'd find someone like you and Bri, too. She shed a few tears. We were so scared and so alone. Mac, is there space in your life for girls like us? I pulled her closer to me. In my heart, Stokely, there's always been a place for someone like you and Maggie. To love me for years, I never thought I'd have something like this. Bri had never shown any interest in having kids. I think you girls changed her life as much as you changed mine. I've seen the way she looks at you. It's like she woke up one day and realized she loves being a mom. I've never seen anything affect her the way you do. You were right about her, she admitted. She's amazing sometimes. It's just incredible. She decides to do something, and you're along for the ride. I chuckled. I know, right? She's always been like that. The first time we met, a group of us college students went to an amusement park. She decided I'd be her ride partner. I actually came because I was interested in someone else. She whisked me away, and we never saw the others in our group again. We were 20, and I fell for her that day. She's like a force of nature. It just sweeps in and takes over your life. We had our first fight a month after we got married. What was it about? She asked. You'll find this funny. It was about shoes. She kept moving mine and putting hers in their place. I had to rummage through her stuff to find mine. She says I'm obsessed. Maybe she's right. But is it too much to ask her to keep her shoes on her side of the closet? She just exploded. Then I drove her nuts, and she drove me nuts. I've got a plan for what I'm doing tomorrow. She's totally spontaneous. It's part of who she is, and I love it, but it drives me nuts. She loves how organized I am, but it drives her nuts. These things clash, and we just get on each other's nerves. She giggled. Maggie and I argue about things like this too. She spends half her life searching for what she's lost. She'll get up and decide on a whim what we're doing. I think we need to adapt a bit, Mac. We need to go with the flow more. They need to understand that we like things in their place. Can we work this out? I don't know, I replied. We never really had a reason to try. Bri and I have a strange relationship. I love her more than ever now. I think she feels the same, but she's not one to talk about it. She just does. We're closer now than when we were married, and I have affection for her. During our marriage, I didn't do much. I loved her, but we were constantly upset with each other. We sort of just got married without really feeling the need to change. I think we were too immature and selfish, but it somehow worked for us. Perhaps we needed someone like you to make us realize what we were missing. The notion of being a family is both thrilling and frightening. What if we mess it up? We're gambling everything on a leap of faith. I detest uncertainty. I understand, but sometimes you just have to take a leap, she remarked. You can't expect to gain anything good without the risk of it going wrong. I embraced her, and she purred like a kitten. You're the wisest 11-year-old I've ever met, I remarked. I'll be 12 next month, she corrected. She finished her bun, and we headed back to the house. The other two hadn't risen yet, so we took Grandma for a walk. By the time we returned, the late risers were finally up. Bri has never been a morning person, and it seems Maggie isn't either. They both resemble beautiful tousled sleepy cats. They stretched and yawned for a good while. After their showers, they transformed into human dynamos. Bri whisked us away to obtain our marriage license, file for adoption, arrange temporary custody, and then go out for dinner. We had seafood, and the girls were thrilled with how tasty it was. They were particularly impressed with the prices. Wow, Mac, you must be raking in the dough, Maggie exclaimed. I chuckled. I'm comfortable, I assured her. I don't mind sharing that I earn around $90,000 a year. I could support all of us if needed. Bri makes 10 times more than me. They stared at her, stunned for a moment. She laughed. It's just money, she said. The point is, we can afford to treat you girls to dinner whenever you want. Matt can cook most things better than restaurants if we can convince him to. You cook, Maggie inquired. Yes, but mostly simple dishes, she replied. Anyone can follow a recipe, but he's a culinary genius. She's really quite skilled, I affirmed. I told him if she could just overcome her habit of being easily distracted, she'd be fantastic. She playfully hit me. Make one mistake, and he'll never let you live it down, she teased. During our first year of marriage, we didn't have a dog that would eat burnt food. If you throw it in the trash, the whole house stinks. She used to take it out to the backyard and leave it at the base of a tree. It was as if we were making a burnt offering to the tree gods. They laughed heartily. Bri was in a particularly good mood and nestled up to me. I hugged her tightly, and the girls giggled. We've never dined at a place like this, Maggie remarked. Bri addressed her with a serious tone. That's not going to happen if you keep talking like that. You'll kick Mac out of the house within a week. I know you can do better. Try again. Maggie pondered for a moment. We've never dined at a place like this, she stated with a triumphant smile as I nodded in agreement. We know how to speak, Bri interjected. I mean, truly speak, she clarified. We just fell into the habit of talking like everyone else on the street. We attended school until my mother passed away. We excelled academically. I believe in you, dear, I reassured her. I'm confident you'll succeed. Though we're from Detroit, we possess sophistication. The girls appeared on the verge of bursting with pride. Bri also gave them etiquette lessons. They mimicked her attire, learned her mannerisms, and emulated her grooming habits. After 6 months, one might have assumed they had been raised and educated in New England amidst high society for their entire lives. They adapted quickly, excelling academically. That evening marked the beginning. Bri was exhilarated. Upon our return home, she instructed the girls to turn on the TV and leave it on all night. They looked at her with curiosity. Your father and I need some time alone, she winked at them. They erupted into hysterical giggles. Blushing beet red, Bri pulled me into the bedroom. We're celebrating, she informed me. What's the occasion? I inquired. It's the beginning of something amazing, she declared. I love you, Mac. Never doubt it. We'll do this every night. I'll remind you of my love, then show you how. We've always been explosive in bed. Tonight, I want to take it to a whole new level, and then we'll maintain this level for the rest of our lives. Do you understand? Show me, I challenged. She unpinned her hair, letting it cascade down. Rarely worn loose, it reached the top of her backside, thick and wavy. Twirling it like a dancer, she approached me, turning her back. Unleash the lightning, she whispered. I unzipped her blue dress, my knuckles trailing down her spine. She winced, stepping aside and releasing her locks into the air. Dropping her shoulders, the dress fell, briefly grazing her chest and thighs before pooling at her feet. Exiting gracefully, her heels accentuating her calves, she was magnificent. Men orbited around her like moths to a flame. Her smoldering intensity focused on me, making me feel special. Her hand slipped behind her back, and her bra fell away, revealing her impressive bosom against her creamy white skin. I think someone's overdressed, she teased. What shall we do about it? I inquired. Pushing me onto the bed, she straddled me, her scent masking the Chanel she wore subtle and seductive. Undoing my shirt buttons, she freed me from my trousers, leaving my hands restrained. Pushing me back, she undid my belt and pants, sliding them off along with my boots and socks. It was a new level of sensuality. She exuded heat, a creature of allure and mystery. In that moment, I realized how deeply I loved her, willing to sacrifice anything for her without hesitation. Our lovemaking became intense and wild, unlike anything before. Locking eyes with me, she raised her head. Mac, I love you, she confessed. I've always known it. I'm selfish, I admit it. I've never truly given myself to anyone until now. Do you want me, Mac? For the first time in my life, I'm ready. Ready to be your partner, your lover, your wife, the mother of our girls. Will you guide me, love me, and be patient with me? I swear you'll never regret it. I'm ready, Mac, if you'll have me. Do you love me as much? I silenced her with a passionate kiss. I love you more than anything, I declared. But you'll need to guide me too. Be patient with me as I am with you. I've always loved you. Together, we can do this. I'll do anything for you. She whispered. For the girls too. I never imagined I could feel this way. They came into my life, and I can't help but love them. I'm scared, Mac, terrified I'll be a bad mother. It's always been my fear, which is why I never entertained the thought of having children. I fear I'll ruin them. I don't know how to be a mother, Mac. Well, I don't know how to be a father either, I chuckled. But I suspect I'll be a great one. It's something you learn by doing. No one knows what they're doing until they do it. I don't know how to be a husband either. At least not a good one. We messed up the first time. Brianna. I know, she whispered. Mostly me. I was so immature. In many ways, I still am, Mac, but I'll try my best to grow. Yes, me too, I said, holding her close. Eventually, we drifted off to sleep. Upon waking, we took a shower together, giggling like schoolchildren. After drying off, she slipped into her pajamas. What's the plan? I inquired. If I'm not mistaken, we'll have guests soon, she replied with a smile. You better get dressed too. I'm too lazy to get up now. I threw on some boxers and a t-shirt, and within 10 minutes of getting back into bed, there was a knock at the door. Come in, Bri called out. Stokely popped her head in, her face lighting up at the sight of us. She darted across the room to join us, inadvertently leaving the door ajar, allowing our furry friend to saunter in and settle across our legs, purring contentedly. A few minutes later, Maggie joined the fray, and we engaged in an impromptu wrestling match with Grandma. With his teeth and drool, he emerged victorious, so we bundled him up in a blanket and escorted him out of the bedroom. Finally free from his presence, we all piled back into bed for some cuddles. About 30 minutes later, hunger pangs struck, so we headed to the diner for breakfast at 2 p.m. Bri announced that we had an appointment, but kept the details under wraps. She led us to the municipal court. What's going on? I asked. The most important case of my life, she chuckled, ushering us into one of the courtrooms where the magistrate awaited, asking if we were ready. Ready for what? I wondered aloud. Bri knelt down, producing a box from her purse. Mac, will you marry me again? She asked. This time, I promise it's forever. You know I never stopped loving you or wanting to be your wife. You're the only man I've ever loved or will ever love. Please, Mac, marry me. In the box were our wedding rings along with hers. Are you sure, Brianna? I inquired. I've never been more sure, she said, turning to the girls for support. He's so stubborn. Yes, please, Mac, they chimed in. Bri really loves you. We want to be a family. We love you too, and we love Bri. How could I say no? It took about 10 minutes, and it was official. Bri treated us to dinner at a new Greek restaurant to celebrate. As I looked around, I saw my future unfold before me, the most beautiful woman in the world as my wife and 2 lovely daughters who would grow into remarkable women. Can we make it work? Only time will tell. It took about a month to gain custody of the girls. Bri worked tirelessly to make it happen. When we finally did, they were overjoyed, and we were ecstatic. Bri sold her apartment, and we settled into life in my house. I worried that Bri and I might get on each other's nerves, especially at first. About 3 weeks after remarrying, we had a minor spat when Bri went to dinner with a client and forgot to call us. When she got back home, she was met with 6 accusing eyes. What? She asked. Stokely picked up the phone, and Bri's eyes filled with understanding. She opened her mouth and burst into tears, gathering us all on the couch. She knelt down in front of us and just started sobbing. I'm so sorry, she managed. I just forgot to call. I should have. Please don't be mad at me. I'll try not to do it again. I can't promise, but I'll tell my assistant to remind me. I was so focused on finishing the meeting and getting home. Do you forgive me? Stokely, Maggie, Mac, I'm really sorry. Bri rarely apologized, maybe a dozen times in her life. This marked the start of a completely new dynamic between us. We both made efforts to keep each other happy, and the girls were incredible at helping us. Sometimes it felt like they were the adults, and we were the kids. We had a few minor disagreements, but I'd never felt so content and happy. There was a private school on campus where I taught, and Bri enrolled the girls there. They traveled with me to and from school, and during these trips, we bonded. They confided in me about everything, filling my life with their enthusiasm. After classes, we'd head home. They'd do their homework, usually taking a couple of hours. Once they were done, we'd take Grandma for a walk. Dinner started at 5 o'clock if we were eating at home. Bri usually got back by 6:30. If she was running late, she'd call, and on those nights, we'd dine out. When Maggie turned 16, Bri asked what she wanted for her birthday. She said she wanted her driver's license. She studied and practiced for 2 weeks and passed the exams on her first try. The night before her birthday, Bri brought it up in bed. I want to buy her a car, she said. What kind? I asked. A new Camaro convertible, she replied. How much? I inquired. Does it matter? She retorted. No, not really, I replied. I just like to know everything, Bri. I know, she said, kissing me. I think we can get the one I want for around $60,000. I whistled. That's a hefty price tag, but she's an amazing girl. She deserves it. Yes, Brianna smiled. There's been a lot of bad in their lives. Mac, let's make sure they only have good now. We ordered the car, bright yellow with black stripes and interior, a big V8. Against my judgment, Brianna thought it would hold its value better, and she was probably right. Either way, I knew it would drive Maggie crazy. When the car arrived, we parked it in the garage. As it was time to leave for school, the girls grabbed their bags and followed me to the car. Bri was in the garage, and I didn't unlock the doors. Dad, Stokely said, let us in. Not today, I said. You'll drive, Maggie. Mom isn't going to work? She asked. No, she's leaving, I replied. Then how will I get there? She asked. I pressed the garage door opener. You're driving, I said, pointing inside. Her eyes widened, and Maggie began to cry. I jumped out of the car, and Brianna rushed down the driveway. We hugged Maggie together. What's wrong, dear? I asked. We thought you'd be happy. This is your car. We're giving it to you for your birthday. She tried to speak, but she was too upset for us to understand. She buried her face in my chest, and we held and comforted her until she calmed down enough to talk. Stokely joined us, and finally, we got Maggie to speak. I don't need a car, she choked out. I love you guys so much, and this is too much. We don't want you to feel like you have to buy us things. Stokely and I already talked about this. We don't need anything. We just need you to love us. She broke down again. Honey, we really do love you, Brianna reassured her. We love you both more than anything in the world. Having you girls is a dream come true for both of us. We love buying things for you. We work hard and earn a lot of money so we can buy things for our girls. Making you happy is how we show our love. It might not be a grand gesture, but it's our way. Stokely was in tears now, too. I kissed them both on the cheeks. Let's go, I said. This is a really cool car. Let's at least go take a look. They wiped their eyes and let me lead them to the garage. I opened the door for Maggie, and Brianna helped Stokely into the passenger seat. Maggie gripped the steering wheel and looked at me, a smile spreading across her beautiful face. It suits you, I told her. Start her up. The powerful V8 engine roared to life, and they both trembled with excitement. I closed the door and tapped on the window. Maggie lowered it, and I kissed her again. See you at school, I said. She pulled out onto the street and paused. Bri and I stood nearby watching. Then her door swung open, and she leapt out, throwing herself into our arms and showering us with kisses. I love you so much, she repeated. Thank you. You're the best mom and dad in the world. She dashed back to her car, and they drove off. I turned to Brianna, who was crying like a baby. For some inexplicable reason, tears filled my own eyes. Look at us, I said. You'd think there were 3 of us or something. That was a wonderful idea. Bri, you're an amazing woman. We hugged each other tightly for a long while. I knew I'd be late for class, but I didn't mind. When Stokely turned 16, we gave her the same car. It wasn't as emotional, but it was still special. We took them to Hawaii and celebrated when they graduated from high school. Maggie was already in college. The day Stokely started college, I came home to find Brianna crying on the couch. I sat beside her, hugged her, and we sat in silence for a while. She rested her head on my chest and cried softly. Finally, she looked up at me, tears filling her big blue eyes. Our kids are all grown up, Mac, she said. I know, I replied, kissing her. It's what kids do. She cupped my face in her hands, looking into my eyes. Let's have another one, Mac, she said. This time, just you and me. I want a baby, Mac. Overwhelmed, she started crying again. I never thought this would happen. I love you so much, and I already miss them terribly. I want to experience it all over again. It was so incredible. I know they're only 60 miles away, but I miss them. Me too, kitten, I said. Maybe if we're going to have this baby, we should go practice. She gasped, staring at me. Really? Do you want that? To have a baby. Of course, I said. I hope it's a red-haired girl like you. I love you with all my heart. Brianna? I scooped her up and carried her through the empty house to our bedroom to start practicing. We had to shoot Granville out, but I found I rather enjoyed making babies. As I drifted off to sleep, the picture on the nightstand of Maggie and Stokely held my gaze. They didn't look like a Ford, not at all. Well, folks, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed making it. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment below with your thoughts and tell me your stories. I'd love to hear them. Cheers, and see you in the next one.